So you have learned that every object in JavaScript, except the root object, has a prototype or a parent. Now the proper way to get the prototype of an object is using object.getPrototype of, and here we pass an object, right? And what we get here is exactly what we saw in Chrome console under myObject.__proto property. It's the same thing, right? So what we have here is the prototype or the parent of my object, right? Now, one thing you need to know is that constructors also have a prototype property. So here we have the circle constructor function. And you know that in JavaScript, functions are objects. So they have properties and methods. So here we can type circle dot. Look, these are all the properties and methods that are available in every function. So here's the prototype property. What is this? This is the object that will be used as the parent for objects created by the circle constructor. So back here, if I want to put this together, assuming that we have this myObject, and this myObject is created by this constructor has a prototype property, and what we get here is exactly what we have here. So the object that will be used as the parent for objects created by this constructor. Let me show you this in action. So I'm going to define an object, an empty object. This object has a prototype property, which is its parent. And you know that this is what we call object base, right? So we have these members like constructor has own property and so on, right? Now, you know that this object is created using the object constructor function, right? So when we use the object literal syntax under the hood, that's translated to a new object, right? So that's our constructor. Now this constructor has a prototype property, and this is the object that will be used as the prototype for all objects created by this constructor. So look, this is our object base, right? So what I'm telling you is that both these are equal. The parent for this object and the prototype for this constructor. Let's take a look at another example. So I'm going to define an array, empty array. This array has a prototype, proto, and this is the object that includes all the methods that can be called on arrays, right? So we call this array base. Now, when we use an array literal under the hood, the array constructor will be called. Now this constructor has a prototype property which references array base, the same object, okay? Now finally, as one more example, here we have a circle object. Circle has a prototype. We call the circle base, which doesn't have anything specific here. It only has this constructor property. Now, we created the circle object using circle constructor. This constructor has a prototype property which returns circle base. So these two objects are exactly the same.